Conway said the general was safe.
General Flynn does enjoy the full confidence of the president, and this is a big week for General Flynn. He's the point of contact for many of these foreign visits.
Now, did Ms. Conway mislead, or did she not know the general was in trouble? Either way, not a good situation. Talking Points well understands the complexities of running this country, but it's becoming clear that President Trump needs better coordination among his staff. Should be somebody in charge of quality control and accurate messaging. That someone should be Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, who is experienced and skilled. No way Kellyanne Conway should be out saying all's fine with General Flynn when all was not fine. A kind of confusion doesn't do anyone in this country any good, especially because President Trump has legions of people trying to hurt him. Summing up, Flynn is out, new security person will be appointed, and the Trump White House needs to become better organized. And that's the memo. Now for the top story, how is President Trump doing according to the folks? New Fox News poll just out spotlights that. Do you approve of Trump's executive order on immigration? 46% say yes, 52% no. Should the order, the immigration order, be described as a terrorist hotspot restriction or a Muslim ban? 56% restriction, 37% ban. Does the order make the USA safer? Less safe, no difference. Safer, 42%. Less safe, 33%. No difference, 24%. Next, President Trump's job approval rating. Approve, 48%. Disapprove, 47%. Finally, are you confident in Donald Trump's judgment in a crisis? 50% are confident, 49% are not. In October, that number was 43% confident, 56% no. So there's been a gain for the president there. But it's clear the country remains divided on President Trump. Joining us from Dallas, one of his critics, Mark Cuban, billionaire and TV star. Let's talk some policy, Mr. Cuban. What is your biggest concern about President Trump in that area?
Well, I think his management style. I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't think he's been able to show any leadership. I don't think he's taken responsibility for the White House, and I don't think he's shown them any direction. And I think the result of that are the issues that you've mentioned. There's a divergence in communications. The people that work for him seem to be fearful of having the mistakes pinned on them, and that's led to leaks and just inconsistency coming out of the White House.
But that's not really policy. And I have to say that I have never seen in my lifetime a new president do as many things as Donald Trump has done in 26 days. Now, you may not like those things, and that's why we invited you on. What's policy beef?
Okay, well, we can start with policy then. Let's talk with jobs, all right? He's meeting with all these companies, but he hasn't gotten to the point where he understands that the nature of work is changing. Technology is changing how people are hired, the jobs they're going to do. He's shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic by going and talking to these companies and dealing with 5 and 10 and even 25,000 jobs at a time. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with trying to get more jobs. That's a good thing. But in any given month, our economy gains and loses 5 million plus jobs.
But
He's got to start dealing with the macro issues.
Would you see that his goal of keeping manufacturing and plants here in the United States is a good one? Would you cede that?
Not really.
No, you think it's good for the country to have plants built overseas? Do you think that's
no? That's
good
not
for
what
America?
I'm saying at all.
Well, that's what that's what his goal is. Have them built here.
I get that he wants plants built here, but you're not going to see new buildings. You're not going to see new facilities. What you're going to see are changes to existing facilities.
Well, already some companies say they're going to build new factories here because they don't want to pay a tariff of bringing their goods back into the USA. All right.
So now we're into semantics, Bill, because now we're saying a new factory. Does that mean modifying an existing facility? That I don't know.
I don't know either. Would it be fair then to give the president a year to see if the job, and we're talking good jobs, we're not talking service marginal jobs, we're talking, so the median income goes up. That was the beef on President Obama. Right. He couldn't raise the median. Would it be fair to give President Trump a year to see if his aggressive approach results in good jobs appearing in America? Would that be fair?
Sure. I have no problem with giving him time. But you have to look at the bigger picture. He hasn't demonstrated that he understands the bigger picture. What I will tell you with 100% certainty, every single one of those companies that he's talking to, whether it's Ford, whether it's United Technologies, whoever it may be, their total number of employees will be fewer in 3 years than it is today, no matter what he does in terms of
We all
individual
understand
factors.
the changing technology and that people have to become educated in it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, in order
What
to do the new jobs, you're going to have a new set of skills required.
No.
Yes,
no,
you will.
That is not correct at all. What I'm saying is with artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks, we're going to see more technological change over the next 3 years than we've seen over the last 30.
But in order for people to harness that change,
no,
they're going to have to know the new technology inside and out.
No,
All right,
Bill, that's not the way. I'm just telling you, that's not the way it works. People are going to be replaced by these technologies. What we have to do during that disruptive period, we have to find places for them to go. We have to find new places to put them to work.
There's always going to be marketing. There's always going to be things like that they have to do, unless you want to set up a socialistic thing where everybody's guaranteed a job, which is never going to happen here. Let's get to health care for a minute, because I know that's a big issue for you. Is it fair to give the Trump administration and the Republican Party 6 or 7 months to come up with a plan? Is that fair?
Yeah, of course. But here's the real question, Bill. If you're going to adjust, replace whatever you want with Obamacare, you've got to answer a simple question. Out of health care providers, insurers, and consumers, who's going to take less? That's what we don't know.
Well, he's trying to drive down the cost by having more competition among the insurance companies and then browbeating the farm companies, the drug companies, to lower their prices. He's trying to do that. But it's a complicated issue.
A small portion. So what you're saying is all these insurance companies are now willing to have lower profits because
because their profits will be going on a wider canvas in which to sell. So the volume goes up while the price goes down.
Now, where are they going to be selling that they didn't sell before?
Because they can't sell now, and they're ordered to sell in certain states. He wants to open it up for the whole country.
No, but it's not like those companies couldn't initiate
they
businesses
can in certain
those
states, and you know that. It's a very regimented health care system that we have. Mr. Cuban, I'd love to have you back because you're a smart guy, and we want to hear from you from time to time. Thanks for coming on.
It's always fun, Bill. Thank you.
Next on the rundown, Yale University may honor the Black Panther Party. Can you believe it? We'll tell you what's going on in New Haven. Impact segment tonight, as you may know, Yale University is an Ivy League stalwart, very prestigious institution. But now there are two controversies that may harm Yale. First, the university is taking John Calhoun's name off one of its residential colleges. Calhoun was vice president under John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson and served in the Senate for many years before the Civil War. He was an ardent proponent of slavery. However, John F. Kennedy named Calhoun one of the greatest senators in history. I disagree with that assessment. Also, the Yale Daily News, a student paper, is backing away from a story it printed that says the African American Cultural Center at Yale will honor the Black Panther Party as part of Black History Month. Joining us now from New Haven, Connecticut, Gabby Cugio-Wilkes, a Yale graduate student, and here in the studio, Kyle Tierney, a senior at Yale. So John Calhoun, he was associated with Yale way back, gave him a lot of money, had a college named after him, right?
Yes, sir.
But no more.
No, sir.
What happened?
It started about 2 years ago. The Calhoun renaming process really picked up steam. Then they decided last April to not rename Calhoun. They had a whole committee established. Over the summer, they established...
Who's they?
The administration, the Yale Corporation, and President Salovey.
All right. So this was basically faculty members that did this?
Not so much faculty members. Faculty and students wanted the name changed.
Because of the slavery issue, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's gone. Now, Gabby, I assume you support the banishment of John C. Calhoun, correct?
I support the renaming of the college.
Okay.
We're still going to be remembering his legacy. We're not erasing him, but I do support the renaming of the college.
Now, you know there's a lot of Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, they were slaveholders, and a lot of things named after them.
Yeah, well,
What's the difference?
He's not just a slaveholder. He's not just someone who was racist. He really built his legacy around inequality. He's really an individual whose lifelong work was around inequality. He wasn't even really for the parts that say that all men are created equal. And so when you think about residential colleges, this is where the students are formed. This is a place of community. And so when you think about those names that we want on those institutions, with those residential colleges within our institution, it's important to think about that history.
So you're distinguishing between the legacy of Calhoun and Jefferson and Washington. Why do you think Yale even named a college after Calhoun? Surely they knew, because he was not a quiet guy. It was all pretty much up front with him. Surely they knew who he was. Why did they name it?
I'm sure they did know. And, you know, it's 2017. I know the conversation that we're in now, which is we can look at our legacy, we can look at our history, we can make decisions based on who we are now as Yale University. And that's what the administration has done.
So you don't have any thought about why they would put up Calhoun as a guy worthy of having a college named after him? You don't know?
I have a lot of questions about decisions that have been made before 2017.
So let's turn to the Black Panthers. The Yale paper booted it. Right? There's no honoring going on in New Haven about the Black Panthers. What is there?
I think it's students who want to be a part of a movement, and they want to compare them, you know, overthrowing or getting Calhoun renamed, being part of these random protests against things that they think that they represent civil rights.
All right, but where did the Black Panthers come in? It's Black History Month. Why are the Panthers even being mentioned?
It looked like a few students went in the fall to go visit a thing at Cal Berkeley that was presenting a story about the Black Panthers.
And they're going to report back to Yale about what their experiences are?
That seemed to be what the...
That's not a problem.
And I actually was a part of that cohort.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you went out there.
Yeah, I went out there. It was great. We were in Oakland. It actually wasn't affiliated with Berkeley. It was with the Oakland Museum, and it was a conference celebrating 50 years of the Black Panthers forming. And we went out there as students to really learn the history, to chronicle it, to understand what's going on. You're probably familiar with the May Day event that took place back in the 70s at Yale, and Yale has a long history of activism. So we went as student archivists really to go out and learn the information about the school. Did you come away with a
favorable impression of the Black Panther movement?
Oh, absolutely. They were so resilient.
Let me have you react to a soundbite that we have from Stokely Carmichael, who is associated with the Panthers. Roll it.
Okay.
We have to recognize who our major enemy is. The major enemy is not your brother, flesh of your flesh and blood of your blood. The major enemy is the hunky and his institutions of racism. That's the major enemy.
The hunky is the white man, based on a pig reference. And you must know that Alex Rackley, who was a Black Panther in New Haven, was murdered there, allegedly by other Black Panthers, and that was back in 1969. And there's a long legacy of violence associated with even the new Black Panthers today. So how can you look favorably upon that group?
Well, there's a long history of racism in this country, and so I think we can all agree that racism exists in this country.
But I think maybe the Black Panthers are part of that racism with their anti-white bent.
Well, the Black Panthers, actually, it wasn't about anti-white. It was pro-black. It was about them making sure that they provided for their community. There were food programs. There were health care programs. The language and the rhetoric is, you know, your choice. We're not using that language and rhetoric now. They certainly were not using that rhetoric at the conference.
It makes me there's
racism.
It makes me a little uneasy that a very intelligent woman like yourself could even think that these people were worthy of being considered in Black History Month. Because they're not that much different than the Ku Klux Klan. They're not.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, they're not. If you look at the history.
That's interesting.
It is. If you look at the history and all the shootings.
You're referring to and how you pair the two.
Well, if you look at the history of the Black Panthers and all the shootings, all the violence, police officers killed, all the rhetoric, which is just over-the-top anti-white, and you compare it to the violence and anti-black rhetoric of the KKK, there's not a lot of difference. And the KKK did community programs as well. I'll give you the last word because I really appreciate you coming on. But I would ask you a personal favor to me. Reassess the Black Panther situation because there are groups that are far, far better for you to tout as helping African Americans. But go ahead, last word.
Well, yeah, last word. What I will say is that the Black Panthers were pro-black. They made sure that their community was provided for. Every organization makes decisions in the time that they are in. However, at Yale, we are studying and archiving and making decisions for ourselves about what our future looks like. And I'm privileged to have been able to be a part of that cohort that went to Oakland to study that living history.
Kyle, Gabby, thank you very much. Directly ahead, powerful Democratic senator says his party has lost its way. Very interesting soundbite we'll play for you. Then later.